Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Coach Tiffany Parra, editor in chief of Phoenix Fitness Fanatics magazine, elevating your mind, body, and spirit. Today, we have our Authors Network Spotlight, and I am so excited to share one of our contributing writers. You all have maybe met her and maybe not, but I am so excited. So let me go and just bring her on in. Oh my goodness. Good morning, Teresa.
Good morning.
How are you? Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to just have you on the show today to share, your book and your author's journey, because we know that being an author can definitely be a tough journey, but it is a needed journey. I definitely would say that. So just please take a moment to introduce yourself to some of the audience who has not met you yet, who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do, a little bit about your background.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me on, Tiffany, and thank everybody who's listening to this. I appreciate it. I am Teresa Palmer. I'm a nurse practitioner or advanced practice nurse, and my expertise is holistic cardiology. And by that I mean not only looking at health and well-being from the whole person perspective, especially cardiology, but what I do is I take it a step further and I incorporate working with the heart on a regular basis. So to speak, become a partner with your heart, and your heart could help you with health and well being and also with your life in general. So I've been doing this work for 3 decades,
Wow.
and I've been working with patients doing this for over 3 decades. And I've really found that it really helps people, that it's an adjunct, it's another layer to good health and well being. So it has no interference with anything else that people may be doing if they're under the care of a cardiologist, or if they are taking any type of medications or doing any other type of care. This complements it. It in no way interferes with anything. It's just giving you that extra layer and that extra boost in taking health and well-being a step further.
Oh, I love that. And just knowing that we can, definitely take that, that time, right? Just to connect with ourselves so we can live, happier, healthier. So let's get into it. Let's get into this book, because I know this book has helped quite a few individuals. So we've got Heal Your Heart from Within. So let's talk about that. So what inspired you to create Heal Your Heart Within, and share a little bit about what that's all about?
So really, like I said, I've been doing this work for a very long time. And my patients have always benefited from this. And one day, back in 2020, a patient said to me that I should write a book. She said, "You give us so much information and you help so many people." And she was a person that, although she was in our cardiology practice
Mhm.
for a cardiac problem, I was working with her on what I call the inner landscape and changing and enhancing your inner being to help everything that you're doing on the outside work. So I was working with her more from an internal perspective, while the cardiologist and also myself were working from the external. And by that, I mean medications, diet, exercise, things of that nature.
Mhm.
And I started incorporating some meditation, some looking at her emotions. She was dealing with a lot of different emotions. A lot had happened to her. And she encouraged me to write the book. She said, "This is so helpful." And the book was published it was published twice. It was published in 2020, and it was
Mhm.
called Empowered for Wellbeing at that time. And
Okay.
I had published it through Balboa Press, and we were using it in our practice in cardiology. So we had a huge practice, well over, I think, over 1,400 patients, and they would use the book. So they would get a free copy of the book to
Yes.
help them along actually helped them through 2020. In 2022, I decided to make a few changes
Mhm.
because it had some things about, the pandemic, and
Yes.
um, we all thought everything would be over within a short time. So what I did was I changed a few things. I changed the title to Heal Your Heart from Within. So that was again republished by Balboa Press. It was just updated and republished by Balboa Press in 2022. And of
Mhm.
course, it was continued to be used in our practice. And the book is really a self guide to helping yourself. And what I mean by that is I give you the information and I give you the tools to work with yourself internally to be able to enhance your health and well-being, and again to work with whatever other modalities you're using on the outside. So I go into a lot about how our emotions affect our health. uh,
Mhm.
you have a predisposition, like a lot of patients that I've had over the years have predispositions to heart disease, diabetes, a genetic predisposition. But that doesn't mean you're going to get the disease, or I like to call them conditions because I think disease makes us sound hopeless, and we're certainly not hopeless. There's
Right.
always something we could do to help ourselves, regardless of the condition or situation. So, with a condition, I just lost track of what I was saying. Um, so the tools and the information I use are an adjunct to whatever
Mhm.
anybody else is doing. We look at emotions, how our emotions affect our health, and they do. The cells
Yes.
have memory. So I was talking about a predisposition. So say you have a predisposition to heart disease, diabetes. What happens is the cells hold on to memory. So if
Mhm.
you keep feeding the cells that scenario and that dialogue, the cells are going to react accordingly. And this has actually been proven by medical science. So if you could change the story and you could start looking at everything from a healthier perspective and
Mhm.
doing things, okay, along with your diet, your exercise, sleep, if you could start to incorporate working with your emotions, not
Yes.
having the negative emotions dominate. Stress is a huge factor
Yeah.
in any disease or an illness, and also the predisposition, especially cortisol. So if we keep ourselves stress free or reduce the stress, then the cells respond differently. Our cells respond positively to positive emotions. And by that, I mean joy, contentment, peace, calm,
Yes.
happiness. And those are all things that we could do for ourselves and change that predisposition to any type of condition
Right.
or
Yes.
illness. So that's some of the things I go into in the book. I also work with people on a one-to-one basis right now, where they could go further into these things and really help themselves with health and well-being. But
Mhm.
even if you just get the
Yeah.
book will give you the tools and the information so you could start on this path to what I call heart consciousness, which is just another layer of good health and well-being. And like I said, it's an adjunct to anything else anybody's doing. I always believe in and, so I never believe in this or that. It's
Yeah.
always this and that. So even though this would be considered, if you want to call it more complementary, I call it more inner work, working with ourselves.
Yeah.
It goes along with everything else. And you keep up, it's this and whatever else you're doing. It's not do this, don't do that. It's do both.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And one of the things that you said too, as the energy that we're giving ourselves, right? How we're speaking to ourselves, how we're keeping that stress level down, things like that. It reminded me of that water. There was like a water experiment that they did where they had talked to the water, right? And they did like they talked really nice and very very peaceful and very joyful to the water over here, and then over here they were just really nasty and negative to it, and it when they froze it, it affected it, and it was like the negative was all cracked up and all ugly, and then the other part with the positive part was really pretty, and it goes to show though the way that we treat ourselves and the energy that we put into ourselves definitely makes a difference.
Oh,
And
yeah. And when you think about it, on the crudest level, we are all energy.
yeah,
And that's just the very basic of our makeup. We're all energy. I mean, even if you take medications, medications have an effect where it's changing some of the energy as far as the ions, sodium, potassium, chloride, all those things. And it's a little bit more difficult to get into. But just know that your body is energy. So you are in control of the energy that you want yourself to have. And that energy, a lot of it comes from our heart. And the
hmm
reason I talk about heart consciousness, if you look at our heart, it's the largest energy field or vibrational energy field in the body. It
hmm
extends at least 3 feet outside of us. It also sustains and it gives us life. Without a beating heart, there is no life.
right,
You could, if your brain stops working and your heart is beating, you'll be brain dead, but you're still alive. But the opposite is not true. If your
right,
brain is working, but your heart stops, everything stops within
right,
a matter of minutes. So if we could look at the heart is it's our energy source. It's really our power source.
yeah,
And it's where our personal power lies. So once we connect to our heart, we connect to this personal power, which then puts us in charge of our health and well-being and our life. And we actually become partners in our healthcare because then we have now the tools and the information that when we go to a healthcare provider, we could discuss things
right,
and we could
right,
look at options. And I don't think we're always empowered to do that because socially, at least in the United States, we've been kind of conditioned to look outside ourselves for the answers, to look
right,
to experts, regardless of who they may be. And I'm not saying that's not important. Yes, I mean, I'm an expert in what I do, but people also know their own body. And most of the time, people could tell you if there's something wrong. They know
hmm
this inner knowing, they just don't trust that they are making the right decision. So, with these tools, it helps you to trust yourself and then you move forward with that trust.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's all about that inner knowing, like you said, and we always do know if there is something wrong with us. We have that intuition, right? And we tend to just we are programmed to call the doctor, right? And nobody said don't call the doctor. I mean, if if you feel really bad, yes, go into the hospital, go to the doctors, do what you have to do, right? But like if you just sit and be quiet, like your body's going to tell you so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah.
And that's actually what I call it, the heart consciousness.
Yeah.
It's breathe, a breath, be still, and physically connect to your heart. So it's breath, be still, connect. And by that, I mean breathing automatically calms you down. And we don't
Mhm.
think about our breath until we can't breathe. And hopefully that's not the case with people. But normally our breath is automatic. We just breathe. But if
Yeah.
we could pay attention and take a deep, full breath and really exhale, what we do is that breath also connects to the heart. It sends out a message to the brain that all is good. And that's where the feel good hormones, the oxytocin, and that is where that gets secreted. So we
Yeah.
feel good. And
Yeah.
that's all by just breathing. And then be still in order to hear that inner voice. And we all have an inner voice. As
Mhm.
children, we didn't even question it. But as we became adults, we became conditioned and accustomed to being logical, the brain. And I'm not saying don't think. What I'm saying is get the heart and the brain on the same page so they could work together. And the only way you could do that is by listening to that voice in your heart being still. And that could be just sitting quietly or lying down quietly without any distractions and just listen. You may not hear anything right away, but over a period of time, and I mean like a few weeks to a month, you'll
Hmm.
start to connect into that inner voice. If you prefer to do it with movement, whether it be exercise, take a walk in nature, as long as you're being present and not being distracted by things outside in
Right.
your environment, it has the same effect. And then connect, physically connect to your heart. Place your hand over your chest, feel that lub dub, that heartbeat. And I'm not talking about the heart rhythm, that's a little bit different, but your heartbeat, it's unique to you. And it's actually now becoming our identification that
Yeah.
each person's heartbeat, that actual contraction and relaxation of the heart is unique to you. Nobody else has that same heartbeat. So, what that tells me is that that is your individual self. That is who you uniquely are. So, when you connect to the heart, you're really connecting to you. And you could call it the soul. The soul is, when you talk about the soul, I'm not talking about religion or spirituality. What I'm talking about with the soul is its pure meaning, which it comes from the Latin meaning psyche, and
Mhm.
psyche is inner knowing. So when I talk about the soul, I'm talking about connecting to who you are,
Yeah.
not connecting to a religion or not connecting to a particular spiritual practice or tradition. So those three things are your heart consciousness and your emotions, and meditation also helps, breath work, and there's different types of breath work. So all these things create a landscape inside of you that keeps your body in balance. So a body in balance is less prone to illness or any kind of condition or disease.
Yeah.
And we usually are the ones that get our body out of balance. Sure, there's some things that could even happen at birth where there's not a full alignment, but for the most part, we do things. And we see that with smoking, with not getting enough sleep, with not getting enough exercise. So, also, we don't think about our emotions, and our emotions also play a part in stress, how we handle things. Stress plays a huge part in the well-being, with our health and well-being. So if we could put that all together, just think of what a powerhouse. Um, you become a powerhouse at that point. You have everything you need to keep your body in balance, and for the most part, to keep yourself healthy and free from disease.
Yes, yes. So what do you feel was the most challenging in writing the book?
I think for me, it was writing it for the layperson and making sure that people could understand, because there was so much information and I didn't want to get that technical, because if nobody understands what I'm talking about,
Right.
then the book doesn't do them any good. So it was getting that clear message of how working with yourself can help your health and well-being without getting too involved. And that's why I wrote the book. It's a short book. I think it's like how many pages is it? I think it's like 100 pages.
Okay.
And
Good.
I did that purposely so that people could go through the book. They don't have to read the whole book. They could read parts of the book. And that was the challenge of making something that was really a blueprint for people to follow. And what
Mhm.
I did was I followed what I did in my practice on a daily basis. How did I help people? What are the things I did? And now how can I put that into a book where somebody could pick it up and maybe they just want to read the chapter on meditation or yoga or breath work? They can do that
Right.
without losing what the book is about. So I think that's the biggest challenge, is that clear message, because as authors, I think sometimes we try to give people too much information, and we
Right.
try to bombard all the senses with everything. And you pick up a 500-page book. I'm not saying that's not good, because some of the best-selling novels are that long. But if
Right.
you're looking for a resource, do you really want to plow through something that's 2 or 300 pages and have to find what you're looking for in a 500-page book? I would
Right.
think that would be pretty difficult. So I tried to make it clear, concise, and yet have enough pages to have it published. I didn't just want an ebook,
Mhm.
because even with a lot of my patients, they were older, and I wanted them to have something tangible that they
Yeah.
could hold on to. It's not to say that you can't get it on Kindle. You can read it online if you want to. But to me, there's something about physically holding a book in your hands, being able to shuffle through the pages, to bookmark pages, to underline things.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just what a book is about. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
did the old fashioned publish a book.
I think it's so important. And I love books. I love having books in my hand and being able to, I create a reader's experience. It's like I get my cup of tea and I put on, some soft music so I can just really get into, the book. And I love that you kept it, short and, not too overcomplicated, because sometimes you do get those books where you start reading them and you're just like, whoa, it is information overload, and then you put them away, when really, if you simplify it, you can do a volume 1, 2, 3, 4, and have it a little more simple for for people as well. So I love how you did that. So for someone that has, a book in their belly, they're really just trying to figure it out. What's some tips that maybe you can give them to really just get going? Because it can be kind of tough to, step into being an author.
Yeah. And, I think the important part is I'm also a member of the Hay House Authors community, because my book was published by their sister company, which is Balboa Press.
Mhm.
And I think the main thing is that, unless you're writing a fiction book, but if
Mhm.
you're writing some sort of genre, a self help, something like that, it's fine to tell your own story, which I didn't do. I used patient stories, the names are changed and all that. But I
Mhm.
think it has to connect with a teaching. So you have to be doing something. So if you want to write a book, say, on coaching, and say you're a fitness coach, then you're working with people, and you would use that experience of what helped your clients in fitness and then put that into a book. So, really, a book is more of a calling card.
Mhm.
Unless you could write a bestseller like Harry Potter, or something, like that, which we would all love to do. The truth is that, writing a book, it may do fairly well, but you're not going to make a living off of it. You're not going to become the best-selling author with the longevity, with all the perks that come with it. But you could definitely use that book and use your experience
Mhm.
to help others. So when you're authoring a book, if you pick a topic, make sure that you're doing work with that, either working with people, or, if you're a scientist and a researcher, then working in science and research, or teaching, or then doing something that then connects what you're writing about with a real life experience.
Yeah, yeah. You definitely want to connect with people, in your writing, most definitely. And I think, you're also in an anthology, correct?
Yeah, I'm in a
And
couple. Yeah.
yeah, so let's share a little bit of the experience in being a part of an anthology, because it is quite different when it comes to, being a solo author versus working in an anthology. So tell us a little bit about your experience in working in anthologies.
Okay. Actually, I've been in 2 anthologies. The first one I did, I think it was around 2018 or 19, and it was with the International Association of Top Professionals, and I had gotten several awards, and I was asked to be in their book. It's called 50 Fearless Leaders, and we each wrote a chapter, but it was really more about yourself and what you do.
Yeah.
So it was really for people to have an idea. It was a coffee table book for people to have an idea of who you were, what the organization was, and kind of why you got these awards. So, and that was fine. That was good. And then I had the opportunity, I think now a year ago,
Mhm.
to be in Unleashed. And
Yes.
that was an anthology. And that was more the giving people, you talk, yes, you could talk a little bit about yourself, but it was really more about giving people a message,
Mhm.
how either your experience, the work you do, how that can help other people. So to me, that was an important anthology because it was giving people a message, it was giving people tools and information that they could use to help themselves become unleashed and to be the authentic person that they are. So that's been my experience with anthologies. Uh, I think they're very good. And I think they're very good even for people that may have an idea for a book, but don't want to write a whole book.
Right. Yeah.
Want to be a part of something, see how, how does that appeal to people? How does
Mhm.
that writing work? And then from there, you could certainly take it into your own book, take it into your own business. So again, it becomes a calling card. It becomes, I'm in this anthology, this is what I do, and this is how I could help people.
Yes, yes. And I love anthologies. I mean, because it's also a connection, between the authors as well, and just kind of growing together. With any book, I mean, you can also take your book and you can create workshops, with your books. You can do a lot of different things, and you may not become rich like some of the, bestsellers, like you said, like Harry Potter, things like that, but it can definitely make a difference out there, and can definitely get you in, when you are in the room, having that resource to be able to give someone that they can, just take those messages and get
Right.
that inspiration.
Right.
Right. So it's amazing.
It helps with speaking. Like I said, I've used it a lot in my practice
Yeah.
where, you give a book to a patient and they really appreciate that. So that's another way to use it. You're right. You could use it with workshops.
Mhm.
I'm also a Toastmaster, which is a public speaking organization. And in April of 2025, they're going to be having discussions at their conference and different things about authorship. So now I'm able to get involved with that as a
Awesome.
published author who's also a Toastmaster and be able to do a workshop to give people information. And most of them that come are Toastmasters. It's all around the world. So
Yeah.
you can give people information about how they could start to write and maybe use some of the speeches and some of the things they've done in Toastmasters for their book. What I
Ah,
do with Toastmasters is I always use Toastmasters to practice any upcoming ideas that I have to see how well it goes over. Are people interested? And they give you feedback. This was great. I would do it this way, or topics a little bit. Yeah, it's
right.
okay, but I don't think too many people are going to want to hear that. So that's another way to do it. But
That's a good thing to do it. I
would
love
never
that.
go wrong with being an author. You could use it so many ways. And I don't think any of us write to be rich. I honestly don't. I think writing and authorship is calling,
Yeah,
and it's calling to give your message, your gift out into the world.
that's right. That's right. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Well, I tell you, Teresa, the time goes so quick when we get on here, but please share with the audience how they can connect with you if they'd like to work with you, if they want to grab the book, grab the books from you. How can they connect with you?
Okay, there's the ways they can connect with me. One, if you want to purchase the book, it's on Amazon.com. It's also on balboapress.com, BALBOAPRESS.com. It's also on barnesandnoble.com. And I have a website which is going to be undergoing. It's going to get a refreshed look and an update. But right now, what people could do is they can contact me on my website on the contact page, and from there, I will certainly answer their email and give them any information that they would need on how they could work with me, or information that they would need. Down the road, what's going to be happening is I'm going to be doing either a short ebook or a PDF little file that I could put on my website to give people also a free gift for visiting the website and giving them information, and using the book also to create an online course so that people could take it. It would be in parts. You could take any part that you want. So I'm also working on that. So those are all the different things that I'm working on. And I also do speaking engagements. And
Mhm.
again, I can be contacted through my website.
Perfect, perfect. Well, Teresa, thank you so much for coming and sharing about Heal Your Heart from Within and all the other amazing things that you are doing. We are just so just honored to have you in the Phoenix Fitness Fanatics family, sharing your knowledge and wisdom monthly in the magazine. So, y'all, if you have not subscribed, definitely subscribe to Phoenix Fitness Fanatics magazine. Go to Phoenix Fitness Fanatics Mag 2021.com and you can subscribe and yeah, get this information, you guys, because you want to tap into that heart so you can elevate that mind, that body, and that spirit. So we are out of here, everyone. We want to definitely wish you happy holidays and get those books out there. If they're in your belly, get them out there. All right. Everybody take care and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.